Hello and welcome to Behind the Bet with sportsbet.io from the home of Clubhouse TV. My name is Gavin and I'm asking your questions to the very special guest today. Now, there are a number of things our guest is well known for. One of them is moustache and ponytail. The other one is his deep voice and his laughter. He's also known for being a lover of fishing. He's also known for his celebrity TV, recently appearing as part of the pillar and post dancing team from The Masked Dancer. But to most football fans, or to all football fans, he's simply known as Safe Hands. Please welcome to Behind the Bet with sportsbet.io, Arsenal and England legend David Seaman. And it's very good to have you watching the Behind the Bet special today with sportsbet.io with a very special guest who I've just introduced. The first thing I will say, this is pre-recorded. So you're watching it on YouTube now, but this is pre-recorded. So no need to ask your questions because I won't ask them live. Already the questions have been selected. And if I do ask your question to David Seaman, every single person who gets a question asked, and I'll do my best to ask them all, will win a 10 USDT free bet. I will say now, I'm going to try and get through as many as I possibly can, but I will not be able to get through all of them because we've had so many questions to our guest, David Seaman, who joins me now. Where is Mr. Safe Hands? There he is. Hello, David. How are you?
Hello, Gav. You all right, mate? I'm good.
I'm very good, thank you, buddy. How are you? Safe Hands. That's quite a nice nickname to have. That as a goalkeeper, you must be quite proud of that one.
Yeah, it's all right once I've finished playing football because, people just say, he's calling himself Mr. Safe Hands now, and I was like, no, it wasn't that. Where it came from was like when I used to sign autographs, or when players used to sign autographs, they would sign like best wishes or good luck, and I just wanted something to do with goalkeeping. Just to be a little bit different. And I just thought, I know, I can do Safe Hands. So I started saying, to Robbie, Safe Hands, David Seaman. And then the press got hold of it and they're like, oh no, he's calling himself Mr. Safe Hands now. And I was like, no, that's not the reason. But yeah, it's a good little logo now.
I'm going to tell you now, we have had close to 100 questions for you from customers of sportsbet.io. Okay. Cool. Where the show goes, nobody knows. I don't know what's coming your way. But the first question I ask is always the most important, which is, how are you? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm very well. I'm defrosting at the moment because it is freezing outside.
It is freezing.
Freezing. I woke up this morning, it was -5. The garden's white. But not with snow, just with frost. Yeah. But no, overall, very, very good. I'm very happy.
That's good. And you also have your own podcast called Seaman Says. And I know that yesterday on your podcast, you spoke to a very special guest who was?
Yeah, Mr. Robbie Williams.
Williams.
Robbie's brilliant. Yeah, Robbie's been a friend for quite a while, obviously. Parade. We met through that. And the friendship's been there ever since. And he just loves coming on the podcast. He was one of my first guests when we first started it. And to have him on after England had got knocked out was really special. He's a great guy. He knows his football. He loves his football. And obviously he's got a lot of stories to tell as well.
He's a big Port Vale fan. And your paths have crossed with Port Vale, which we may talk about a little bit later on as well. As part of one of the big seasons for Arsenal, an FA Cup run started with Port Vale. I don't know if you remember that all the while ago.
I would have reminded Robbie of that. I forgot about that
one. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. Join my research. We spoke about this a little bit off air, but join my research. You are on television quite a lot right now. I even watched the League of Their Own Christmas special with Jamie Redknapp in a golf tournament, and up you popped on that. You've done the Masked Dancer. You've done the skating on ice, but also I watched you in the 90s. We had a big TV programme here in the UK called Noel's House Party, which was mainstream Saturday night television. And they had a big character on there called Mr. Blobby. There's a big knock on the door because it was set in a mansion. Noel, the presenter, opens the door, and there you are, full in your... was it an England kit or an Arsenal kit, that thing? I think it was an England kit, wasn't it, that you were wearing? And you came on and taking penalties against Mr. Blobby.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a story to that as well, because so when Noel and Mr. Blobby used to have like these little fights and everything, they used to proper go for it. They'd be like really like trying to push each other over and everything. And then when we were doing this shoot, there was this like a column with a load of flowers on top of it, and with this glass vase on it. And as they started fighting, they hit this vase, and the vase went over, smashed on the ground, but the base landed upright with these jagged edges on it. Excuse me. And then as I'm watching them, I see Mr. Blob is just about to fall onto this vase. So I ran over, pushed him away, and booted the vase out of the way. And then, so I actually saved Mr. Blobby's life. I don't know whether everybody was happy about that, but I'm sure he certainly was.
Well, we have a global audience. We have people watching from around the world, and we're just about to introduce the world to Mr. Blobby. So I think it might be worth a bit of a Google and a search on YouTube after this to watch the moment that David Seaman actually saved Mr. Blobby. You also join us the day after the semi-final between France and Morocco. So we know now that the World Cup final is going to be France against Argentina. Of course, you've been involved in so many international tournaments, both Euros and the World Cup. What's your thinking of the World Cup so far and England's campaign that they've had?
I've really enjoyed it, because we've let football do what football does, and we've let the World Cup do what it does. It entertains us. There was a lot of chat before about all the different politics, and it was like it was getting on my nerves, if I'm honest. And okay, we referenced that, but then let the football do the talking, and I've really enjoyed it because there's been some really good surprises. Like Argentina we had a good week. England won, Argentina and Germany lost in the same week. So that was a really nice week. But, since then, obviously, England did really well, I felt. It was a solid World Cup performance. There's a lot of chat about, whether Gareth should go on. And I'm like, no, like, let him get on with it, because England now are the best that they've been for a long, long time, for many, many years. They've got all that experience, and then when you look at the age of the players, they're going to be even better in 4 years' time. Plus we've got a Euros in between that. So let Gareth do his stuff. Fingers crossed that he does stay on, because I'd be really disappointed if he decided to leave it. I don't think he'd want to leave what he's built now, because it's so special at the moment.
I say that if any other nation, a Germany, an Italy, a Spain, or a Portugal, if they had the strength in depth that England have, if they have the youth that are coming through the system now, coming into the first team, we will be tipping them as potential winners for tournaments years to come down the line. I think England are in such a great place. And actually, do you know what? The game against France, I was absolutely... There's been times, David, even with tournaments where you've been involved, where I felt a little bit really downbeat that England have been knocked out of tournaments and quite frustrated and angry about it. But this one, I accepted that's fine. We had our chance. We had a penalty. It came down to that. We put it over the crossbar. It's fine. England did okay. They did absolutely fine. Yeah. So I was quite happy with it. Do you watch a lot of football now you've retired? Is that something you do? Sit on the sofa with a nice coffee watching the old World Cup and plenty of football?
I watch a little bit more now. Now I'm doing my podcast, because I have to be up to date with it. But before that, even when I was playing, I found it really hard to watch football. So what I would do is every game I would tape. And then when I get back, I would watch the game over, because you could hardly ever sleep after a game anyway. So I would watch the game, but I'd fast forward it until the ball went near me. And then I'd press play and then see what happens, or if there's a little bit that I'd done wrong or whatever. But I always used to have a look at what I'd done and to see if I could do anything better, or anything different to have stopped a goal. But yeah, I used to find it really hard to watch games, and if I'm honest, I watch more fishing videos than I do football videos now.
Yeah, because you're big into your fishing as well. Again, another thing, I've spoken about your podcast, but you're also doing plenty of fishing as well with a friend of the show, former Behind the Bet guest Paul Gascoigne. He's been a guest as well, and you do plenty of fishing with Gazza as well.
Yeah, that's it's fishing stroke babysitting Gaza. Because he could be a handful when he's fishing, trust me. But he really loves his fishing. He's always loved his fishing. He loves his fly fishing, and but recently I took him carp fishing, and he absolutely loved it. And it was great fun. What I wanted people to see the side of Gaza that I know. which is the caring side, the guy that's got a real heart of gold. And I think that came across quite well because, I said, but let's have, some fun and everything, but I don't want it to be all fun and slapstick because everybody knows Gazza for that. They know that he has his problems and he's up and down. But I just wanted people to see the side that I know as well, and it came across quite nicely, I thought.
One of my favourite stories from Gazza, quickly, because he's got his fishing tackle. He's probably as big into fishing as you are. Wherever he drives, he's got his fishing tackle in the back, or wherever he's driven. And if he spots a nice place, he's happy to pull up and just start fishing straight away. And he spotted a nice place across a farmer's field that had a fence on it. So he leapt the fence, but as he grabbed it, it was an electric fence. So he stood down in the middle of a field holding an electric fence as he's trying to get over the other side to go fishing. That sums up Gazza. That's Gazza. That is absolute Gazza. Right, so enough questions from me, okay? So as I said, we've had plenty, nearly 100 questions for you, David, from Clubhouse TV viewers and sportsbet.io customers. So it's now time to... Are you ready for this? I don't know what's coming your way, but it's now time to ask David. Right, this is part of the show where I say, where the show goes, nobody knows. I have no idea what is being asked. I have no idea what questions are popping up. All I can say is that everybody who gets a question asked to Mr. Safans will win a 10 USDT free bet. That will be placed into your account we'll give it 48 hours or so. So, David, are you ready for question number 1? Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
This is from Darks. Who do you think is the most successful goalkeeper in the 2022 World Cup? Who's the one who's impressed you the most?
Good question. I'll tell you who I was really impressed with, Wojciech Szczesny, when because he saved a couple of penalties and also made a brilliant save from a rebound. I've been really impressed with Hugo Lloris, if I'm honest, as well. He's been making some big saves at important times. I think I'd probably go with Lloris. Although then Alisson made some really good saves. So, it's a tough one. And then you've got Martinez, who's the boss of
sensational.
Penalty.
Yeah,
I know. But if I had to choose one at this moment in time, I think I would go for Hugo Lloris.
Yeah. Martinez is a very interesting story because if you look back literally just 10 years ago, he's probably on loan at Sheffield Wednesday and he's played, in the EFL around, he's not always been at a top club in a top league. He's had to fight his way up and suddenly here he is at the latter end of his career, shall we say, about to potentially win a World Cup. And also, I always find it funny when you're playing on loan at Sheffield Wednesday and he played in the... you're from Rotherham. He's played in the Sheffield Wednesday-Rotherham derby, and funnily enough, he went on loan to Rotherham afterwards. So he's been on loan at Sheffield Wednesday in Rotherham, and now he's playing in the same team as Messi, potentially about to win the World Cup. I love that story.
He's got those Yorkshire roots going on, hasn't he?
Exactly.
I tell you what's weird as well about Martinez is that when he was signed at Arsenal when he was about 16, 17, and at that time I was helping the youth team coach, goalkeeping coach Tony Roberts, doing some coaching, and I actually coached him when he came as a 16, 17-year-old. So that was a long time ago, but you could tell he got something special. The size of him was the main reason that that Arsenal signed him. When he came, he was a little bit raw, but then he just needed the coaching. And he's gone on to prove that Arsenal were right in paying. I think they paid £1 million for him when he was a teenager.
Yeah. When you watch a game of football, I imagine the answer to this is yes, but do you mainly focus on the goalkeeper? And do you sometimes talk to your television about the goalkeeper? Is that something you just offer your opinion out there on what goalkeepers should be doing? Is that something that just comes naturally and you can't help it?
No, but when I'm watching it, and especially now because I'm back coaching at Arsenal with the under-23s and under-18s, on a mentor type thing, So I go in with Terps, the coach, and and then I help with that, So now I'm watching more videos of goalkeepers. So when I'm watching the TV, when me and Frankie are watching it, and all of a sudden I'll go, "Oh no!" And she's like, "Well, what's happened? What's happened?" And then she'll know that the goalie's made a mistake or he's in the wrong position or something like that. And then I'll start pausing it and slow motion it and stuff like that. But I'm more aware of, especially positions. I'm looking at body positions when a shot is struck. That's the main thing that I look at now. Where are they in the goal? What sort of angle are they on? Are they leaning back or leaning into it? All those sort of technical things that that we go through.
Well, I'm part of the Goalkeepers Union. I was not as good as you, David. I think it's fair to say. You were slightly better at being a goalkeeper than I was. But what I find, if you've played the position for a length of time, you appreciate the little things that people miss. They all love the glory saves that actually sometimes are very comfortable for a goalkeeper. You see the ball from distance. It's a nice catchable height. You dive in full length, but you catch it. And you think that's actually quite easy. It's the little things that I think people miss. Whereas a goalkeeper think, that's really difficult to do, and you don't take any credit for it. When it's right down by your feet and you get down there sharpish, that's when goalkeepers do that and they don't get enough credit for it. It does wind me up a little bit.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and especially the ones that are like, because a lot of goalkeepers now are saving a lot of shots with their feet, but it's that in between. It's like, is it a foot save or is it a hand save?
Yes.
Those are the really tricky ones. The decision to make. And I was one that always just seemed to lead with my hands. I very rarely made many feet saves. Because that's what I preferred. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's something. You look at Peter Schmeichel. There's me and him are two totally different ways of being a goalkeeper. Because Peter brought his own style to it. And I brought my own style, which was like calm and it looked relaxed, but in here it was all going on. But with Peter, he was always a like angry man but he got the best out of him. But yeah, I know what you mean by the little saves, the little points things. Where as a goalie,
Yes, you do. Again, I'd just like to confirm you were slightly better at being a goalkeeper than I was, but yes, we agree.
Hey, we did all right for two lads from Yorkshire, mate.
You're not wrong at all. Right, question number 2 for David Seaman. Navi Darts. Oh, here we go, straight in. Jordan Pickford, Aaron Ramsdale, or Nick Pope. Now, what I think the reference is here is, I don't know, which is your favourite, I guess is the question here. Tough one.
Oh, if it's my favourite, then it's Aaron.
He's a good lad, isn't
he? Yeah, he is. And I see him at Arsenal quite a bit, and I chat to him, off the field. And I see what he's doing, and I see what he's trying to work on. So it's really good that he's at Arsenal now as a 24-year-old, I think he is, or 23. I'm not sure, but I keep saying to him, Aaron, I didn't join Arsenal till I was 26. And I played for QPR in the top division for 4 years. And I played for Birmingham City in the top division for a year as well. So I'd had 5 years in what is now the Premier League. And then I joined Arsenal, and he's had, a lot of people think it's a negative, but he's had like spells at Sheffield United and at Bournemouth where he got relegated. And people say to me, yeah, but he got relegated. I'm like, no, but that's brilliant because he was playing under massive pressure. Playing under relegation threat is huge pressure. I did it with Birmingham, and it wasn't good at all. And I'd much rather be up the other end, going for trophies. It's easier to do that because then you know that all your team are playing well, rather than if you make a mistake when all your team are playing bad, it's really going to be highlighted. But most popular, is Aaron, but England's number 1 is Jordan. And he's proved that. He's proved it again. He's not had as much to do in this World Cup as what he did, say, in the Euros and the previous World Cup. But his form for England is unquestionable. He makes big saves when he's needed to.
Yeah, all these goalkeepers, by the way, have all kind of done what you did. I mean, you started out at Peterborough United when you left Leeds United. I love the fact that there's a David Seaman suite at Peterborough's ground now. Have you ever been there?
Very proud of that.
The David, which you can actually hire if you wish to hire the David Seaman suite. Then you can.
They'd probably charge me as well.
But you've got Jordan Pickford, who went out on loan all over the place. I know a few years ago. I like looking at what they were doing 10 years ago. And, Jordan Pickford was playing on loan at Bradford City. You got Aaron Ramsdale, who was playing for Wimbledon and Chesterfield. And everywhere Aaron Ramsdale has been, he's pretty much won the Player of the Season. That's the thing about Aaron Ramsdale. He did it at Bournemouth when they got relegated. He actually did it at Sheffield United when they got relegated, Player of the Season. That says a lot about the goalkeeper. And Nick Pope, of course, who played for Burnley for many years and famously was a postman as well. So what I like about all these 3 goalkeepers, they've all come from, the grassroots of football up to where they are now. I love that, just like you did.
Yeah, but what they've also done as well, Gavin, is that they've been playing games. Yeah, and this is the problem that a lot of goalkeepers are having at the moment, is that they're not playing enough games. They're at clubs and then they're probably playing maybe 10 or 15 games a season, and it's not enough. And and especially when it's like training games, they need to go out, and that's why I say it was lucky, but I didn't feel like it was lucky when I got told by Leeds I weren't good enough and I left at 19. I was like, what am I going to do? But I went down to Peterborough and I became their number one as a 19-year-old, and I had to like go straight into the Football League as a 19-year-old playing against men. But I was playing every week, and I had to learn quick, and that's what you do, and that's what happens in games. You make decisions, or you have to make decisions that you don't normally do in training. And it's a weird situation, but the experience that I gained from that, my 2 years at Peterborough, then I went 2 years at Birmingham City, and then I went 4 years at QPR, and then 13 years at Arsenal, and then about 6 months at Man City. But it was I was number one, and I was playing all the time, and it's vital for goalkeepers to get that experience.
Yeah, completely and utterly agree. By the way, I can't go any further into this conversation without complimenting you on your Christmas decorations. Is that a Frankie touch or is that a David Seaman touch? I just have to know.
Well, it's obviously me.
Clearly, I thought it was. It's got David Seaman written all over it. Of course it has.
No.
Well, there's one thing. I mean, who's better to put balls up everywhere than Mr. Safe Hands? You're not going to drop one, are you? So, anyway.
Yeah.
Right,
I do the high ones.
Right, another question for David Seaman on Behind the Bet here at sportsbet.io. Shadow Tinina says, do you consider your save versus Sheffield United in the FA Cup your best save ever?
Yeah, I do. It was a save that I made, and if you watch the clip of it, watch my face when I get up, because I make the save, and Phil Jagielka, to be fair, misses quite an easy rebound. If he scores that, my save never gets mentioned, but he missed it, thank God. And when I get up, my face is like deadpan. I'm like, I didn't realise how good a save it was at the time. It was just a quick reaction of diving backwards. And the fact that I was diving backwards is the reason that I did the scoop, because I knew that if I just pushed it, I was going to be pushing it straight into the goal. So I just scooped my arm around it and then plucked it out. And and the other good thing about it was that I was 39 when I made that save, and there was a lot of people, doubting my ability and whether I should be carrying on and all this. And I was still England's number one. So it was a nice time. It was a nice time to make the save. And when I watched it on TV later, I was like, "Oh yeah, that was a good one."
I'm not sharing your delight, David, because what you don't know about that game is I was there as a Sheffield United fan.
Oh no!
And I could, Sheffield United played really well that day, because we're taking on Arsenal. It's like you could tear us apart, and actually we did really, really well, and I could feel a chance building. And then that chance came, and I was stood behind the goal when he saved it, and everyone went,
"No way!
How's he done that? Why are we not celebrating?" And I, like you, I'm always annoyed at Phil Jagielka for not sticking in the rebound. Right, your save is something else. No. Phil Jagielka's miss from about 3 yards. Come on, son.
Yeah,
I know. I spoke to somebody yesterday who spoke to Paul Pescasolido about that, and Paul Pescasolido, in the split second that he headed that, he said that he was thinking about his goal-scoring bonus already, because he thought, that's it, it's 1-1. And he could not believe... And if you see Paul Pescasolido, there's a stunnedness about him where he can't do anything because he's thinking, how's that not gone in? It's the most unbelievable save. How many times have you watched it back?
He just with his hand, doesn't he?
He just panics because he's thinking... It's just unbelievable. So I'm delighted for you, David, that you knocked my team out of the FA Cup with that save. What a save, though.
But so Frankie, my wife, she's a Sheffield United fan as well. So, but obviously I not met her till after that. But and I'm not very welcome in Sheffield because obviously we beat Wednesday in 2 cup finals in the same season.
No, we like you for that. I like you for that. I like you a lot.
Now I've done that save against Sheffield United. Oh, do you know what? I never forget as well. Playing Sheffield United, we played him at Highbury once, and when Canu and Mark Overmars ran onto the ball and scored the goal from the throw-in, I think it was in a cup game.
David, let me stop you there, right? Bring me back in, Joe, bring me back in, because what you don't know is I was there as well. In the clock end behind you. I wasn't going to talk about this, David, but I was in the clock end behind you because we took the entire stand, 5,000 Sheffield United fans, and what I remember, you were stood directly in front of all the Sheffield United fans, right? And you had, and I'm not joking, it's my image, you had your hands on your head like, I don't know what we've just done. You were stood about 60 feet away from me.
And I couldn't believe it. And then after they'd scored it, and I was like, oh my God, what? And then like is it a load of the Sheffield United fans were saying, Seaman, throw it in your goal.
Yes, I was one of them.
They were like saying like, let it in, because honestly, they were shouting all sorts at me. But
That was
I
that
think
was weird.
I know I was like, oh, what have you done? Because it was, I think it was Mark. Was it Mark that put it in? Or
It was,
Stu
yeah.
that
It was, so it was Carnew came on as his debut. The ball was thrown
Yeah.
back to Sheffield United because we had a player go down injured. So Alan Kelly, our goalkeeper, kicked it out, and Carnew squared it to Mark Overmars. Mark Overmars scored, and Steve Bruce came on. It was his first managerial job. Steve Bruce, Sheffield United. Come on, boys, we're not playing, and nearly took the team off.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
And I think in the end it was when we replayed it, it was right. It was the right thing to do.
Also, just very quickly to go on from the semi-final against Sheffield United, you then went on to the final in Cardiff. You were the captain. This was your last game for Arsenal. You were made captain. I know you've got the signed jersey you wore that day. You beat Southampton 1-0. We had David O'Leary on as our last guest on Behind the Bet. His very last game for Arsenal was the FA Cup win against Sheffield Wednesday. The replay. Yeah. That was his. So you went out in the same way. What a way to bow out after an amazing career at Arsenal. You bow out lifting the FA Cup from Bobby Robson, Sir Bobby Robson.
Yeah, but I saw David chatting about that, about saying but he knew it was his last game. But I didn't know it was going to be my last game.
Oh, really?
That was what was
See,
weird.
he knew.
No, I didn't know. So I went out. Obviously I've made the save in the semi-final. We get to the final, and I'm captain because Patrick's injured, Patrick Vieira. So I'm now introducing all the lads to the royalty and everything, and it was brilliant. But so then we win the game. I've raised the trophy. I've got my armband. I've got pictures of that, and it's just kissing the FA Cup and all that sort of stuff. And then I go to Portugal because at that time of my career, I was just signing a year-to-year deal because it suited the club and it suited me, if I'm honest. Because I didn't know whether I was going to carry on. But so I'm away in Portugal, and then Arsene Wenger phoned me up and said, "David, I've got an offer for you." I was like, "Okay." He went, "I want you to be my number 3 goalkeeper." I was like, wow, this is after being captain, winning the trophy and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, right. And he says, "But I want you to be my goalkeeping coach." And I says, "Oh, okay, that's something I'm really interested in," because Bob Wilson, who was my coach, he was going to retire. And then he went, "But," and I was like, "Go on." He went, "There's a 75% wage drop." And I was like, wow, and that's, I know, and that's the reason that I went to Man City. It's yeah, I just felt that I could play for another season.
Yeah,
and if I hadn't got injured, I would have done that. But I got injured halfway through my stint at Man City.
The 2003 FA Cup final, by the way, there's a little bit of history about that. Do you know what it is?
2003
FA Cup final,
No.
Your last game. It's a little bit of history. It was the first time ever that the FA Cup had been played under a closed roof. They closed the roof for that final.
That's right. Oh, nice.
Yeah. And also, I told David, well, you might like this one as well. Your League Cup final. So the season you played Sheffield Wednesday in the League Cup final and the FA Cup final. The League Cup final, where you also beat Sheffield Wednesday, there's a little bit of history on that one as well. It's the first ever game in Europe where teams wore their squad numbers and their name across the back as well. So if you've got that jersey, it's the very first one. So it's all. You have?
Yeah, I'm going to get Steve Hodge to sell it for me.
Oh, yes. He can make quite a bit of money, can't he, from the old shirt-selling business? Got the Maradona shirt, sold it for millions. Yeah. That's what you need to do. Anyway, another question for David Seaman. Let's have a go. Bibiasso says, who was the best striker you played against? Oh, good question.
So the one that I played against has got to be Ronaldo, the Brazilian Ronaldo.
Right.
He was special, and he played in that 2002 game as well. And he was one of those strikers that you never knew what he was going to do. He would toe poke it. He'd hit shots at you with hardly any back lift, and was just so strong. I would say that he was the best that I'd played against. Gary Lineker, for some reason, always used to score past me. Robbie Fowler scored a hat-trick in 3.5 minutes at Anfield past me. So those guys were the annoying ones, that always seem to be in the right position at the right time. But the best striker that I played with has got to be Thierry Henry. I always say to Arsenal fans when I'm, like some of my friends on, and I always say, right, one choice, Henry or Bergkamp, and honestly, it splits them right down, and they're like, oh,
Yeah,
how can you choose?
I know.
Yeah,
I adore Dennis Bergkamp. He's one of the best footballers I've ever seen live. Because I went to the Arsenal game that got declared void, and then we came back down for a replay where you didn't let us off the hook that time. Dennis Bergkamp played that day was just terrific. I love Dennis Bergkamp, but
yeah.
Thierry Henry or Dennis Bergkamp, you wouldn't mind if you had one or the other in your team, would you?
Well, I was lucky I had both.
Both, exactly that. Good. Thank you, Bibiasso. 10 USDT free bet on its way to you. Another question. Let's rattle through these because we've got so many. So next question for David Seaman. Where is it? Here it is from Wikinga123. Which England team do you think is better, the current one or the team from the 1990s? Whoa, what a question.
Oh, that is a good question. Naturally, I would say the one from the 90s because I was in it.
It was in it.
but you can't take away what this current England team have done. They've got to a semi-final of a World Cup, the final of a Euros. Okay, we only got to the quarters of this World Cup, but the way that the team's developing is really exciting. I think when a lot of my teams that I played in like 96, that was a really strong team. And then 98 and then 2002, there was a lot of like big name players there that were doing their stuff towards the ends of their career. When you look at the England team now, there's not that many that are coming towards the end. But it would be one hell of a game, trust me.
Oh, it would
But
be.
the thing is like,
I'd pay to see
the current team though, with the influence of sports science and all that, they are so much faster.
Yeah.
Football is a lot faster now than it was back then.
You got one Mr. Arsene Wenger to thank for that, though, isn't he? When he changed the face of football when he came in.
Yeah, exactly. When he came in, he was way ahead of everybody. And then everybody caught up, and some overtook. But yeah, it was the football that we're seeing now has got a lot to thank to Arsene Wenger.
Okay, thank you, Wikinga.
Right. Avoiding that question. Yeah,
I didn't know whether to push you. You can't choose. I think that's fair. I was going to push you and say pick one, but I'm thinking it's fine. It's difficult.
Yeah,
it's impossible to pick.
Yeah, it is. I'm leaving it there. But our one was good.
Right, here we go. Another question for David Seaman. Lolo Jones, how did you feel during the Ronaldinho free kick in the 2002 World Cup? Oh, here we go. So as I said to you before we started, when we get players, outfield players, we talk about the goals they scored. Whereas with goalkeepers, we talk about the goals they concede, which seems a bit harsh, but that's just the nature of the beast of being the most important position on the pitch, I'd say. So we know about this. Ronaldinho takes a free kick. It's 1-1. It's, is it round of 16 or quarterfinals? I think it's quarterfinals, isn't it? It is quarterfinals, of the 2002 World Cup. Ronaldinho is about 30, 35 yards out. Scores from a hell of a distance. How did you feel, and what was your take on that?
Well, it's the most asked question I get, and it's people say to me like, "Did he mean it?" And I say it doesn't matter. It still went in from 35 yards, and for me, that's a goalkeeping mistake. I know, excuse me, I knew he didn't mean it straight after the game because Gilberto Silva told me, who was my Arsenal teammate who played for Brazil in that game. But it didn't matter. It doesn't matter whether he says he meant it or not. It went in, and the weird thing about it was that when he scored that goal, we'd still got half an hour to go in the game. And I'm now in the goal. The ball's up the other end, and I'm now thinking, oh, come on, lads, like, get me out of this, because if we go out on that, and this is while game's going, I'm thinking to myself, if we go out on my mistake, am I going to get treated the same as David Beckham got treated in 98, when he got sent off?
Against Argentina.
And those sort of thoughts are going through my head, and it's like, it sends like shivers down my spine when I think about it. And unfortunately we didn't, even when Ronaldinho got sent off, they were down to 10 men and we still couldn't score. And it was the strangest feeling I've ever had. And then after the game, that was it. I knew we were out. And I remember walking up to the centre circle, and I've seen pictures of like Sven and David Beckham and and Ray Clements. like talking to me, and I can't remember a word they said, because I was just like in my own zone sort of thing. And it wasn't until I started walking over towards the England fans that I realised that you just feel like you've let everybody down.
Yeah.
And as a goalkeeper, you do that. That happens in games. But when I saw the England fans, and that's why I just broke down in tears, and because that was the sort of feelings that I had that you have as a goalkeeper.
See, this is the side of football that I love conversations like this, because you are human at the end of the day. Like everybody else, you have the same feelings as everybody else. You don't, you're not made of steel. Criticism and, analyzing yourself, you're not, you are human. You do feel it deep. And I think people need to realise that at that precise moment, that you can't just pile on because there's a human at the centre of it. That's my opinion of
exactly. And especially being a goalkeeper, you're going to go through a lot of those emotions because you are going to make mistakes. And, that's what I look at in goalkeepers now is if they make a mistake in those first 5 minutes, can they carry on the game and then start and get better? Or are they really going to crumble and really cost their team, and let more and more goals in, and it's you have to be mentally tough. But sometimes they say that we're goalkeepers are crazy. What I say is we're different.
People have called me different many times, so I completely agree with that, David, I have to say. Right, another question for David Seaman on Behind the Bet at sportsbet.io. Which Arsenal team was better in your opinion? Another tough one from Sport 1907, the 1997-98 team, or the 0102. Both these teams are very, very similar. Both pretty much did, they both did the double, both won the league, both won the FA Cup. I mean, this is choosing between England now and England then when you played, this is even more difficult, isn't it?
It is, because when I look at like the 97-98 team had more of an English or British influence. But, like with people like Nigel, and I think Baldy was there then as well, Martin Keown, Tony Adams, Lee Dixon as my back four. And then it went to 0102, and I think, I'm not sure whether, because Dicko wasn't playing much in that time. I think Tony
he retired.
was playing.
So Lee Dixon retired at the end of the 0102 season. Do you know who joined at the start of the 0102 season? Sol Campbell made the move from Spurs to Arsenal.
Wow, what a first season that was for him then.
For the 0102 season, that's the year that Sol Campbell joined.
Yeah, but I would, if I had to choose, I would say the 97-98, because he had Vieira and Petit in midfield, and they were special.
Yeah.
When they first came, nobody knew about them, and then we saw how strong Patrick was, how strong Manu was. But Manu, he could unlock defenses, and he would hit passes, and we're like thinking, how's he seen that pass? Because he had his back to play, but he'd already got the pictures in his mind before he'd received the ball. And he was really special. So I would, if I had to choose, they were both great teams, by the way, and we're talking about which double, me first or me second.
Yeah, no, isn't it?
So I'd have to.
The double, though, in 97-98 happened because of you, because that was the season, your FA Cup journey. You won 2-0 against Newcastle at Wembley in the final. But actually, your toughest game was Port Vale. That was the season, the FA Cup, where you drew 0-0 at home at Highbury to Port Vale. Then 0-0 at Port Vale, 1-1 after extra time. It went to penalty shootout, and you saved the penalties, and that's how Arsenal went through. And later on, you played West Ham. That went to a replay. That went to penalties. You saved the penalty, and that's so. It wouldn't have happened without you, because you were saving penalties left, right, and centre in the FA Cup, including against Port Vale.
I weren't too bad at pens. I had this.
You were quite good at them. You were quite good at them, as Euro 96 will testify. Right, we're going to rattle through as many of these as we can. We've already had 40 minutes in, so let's go through as many of these as we can. Chi says, what was your greatest challenge in being a successful footballer?
Oh, that is a great question. My greatest challenge, I want to, straight away, I think of being when I was at Leeds, but then I'd already become a footballer. So the great challenge would be being a successful one. It's trying to be consistent. But no, I'll talk about the Leeds situation where I'd gone to Leeds as a 16-year-old as an apprentice. So I was there for 2 years doing my apprenticeship. Then I had a year as a pro, and then, as I spoke earlier, I got released. Now, I'm from Rotherham. I wasn't very good at school, and
Where's
all I
Peterborough?
wanted to do was, yeah, exactly, and all I wanted to do was play for Leeds because that's the team I've supported all my life, really, and to get released by them and go to Peterborough, exactly what you said, I had no idea where it was. I said to my dad, "Where's Peterborough?" And he told me, and I was like, "Whoa!" But so that's the biggest challenge I've felt, and that's driven me through the rest of my career. I feel that I've always been one of those people that's wanting to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
For me, it hurt more because it was Leeds,
Yeah.
and because I'm a Leeds fan, and I've always wanted to prove, and I proved, and and I never forget it. Eddie Gray was the manager at the time, and he said, "Look, I'm going to have to let you go. I want to get an experienced goalkeeper in as cover for John Lukic, who was at Leeds. So we were both together at Leeds at that time." And yeah, so I think that's been the biggest challenge that I've had, was trying to prove people wrong. But and as my mum did, she once saw Eddie Gray out in Yorkshire somewhere in a pub having a Sunday lunch, and my mum and dad went in, and she saw him over in the corner. She said, "I've got to go and say hello." And she went, "Oh, hello, hello, Eddie. I'm David Seaman's mum. You remember our David?" This is how I've played in your 96 and all sorts.
I love it. I love that. Sometimes the worst thing that you feel happens to you actually ends out being the best thing that happens to you. Is a life lesson,
Yeah.
I guess, in that one. Yeah, brilliant.
You don't feel like it at the time.
It doesn't,
It's,
but reflection, yeah, exactly. I'm going to rattle through as many of these as we can. Another question from Genetics. Which era would you like to play football in, your era or now?
There's two different reasons, right? So in my era was great because we won a lot of trophies. I've got 9 winners' medals and quite a few runners up, where which meant that we were always there or thereabouts, winning trophies. In this era now, I'd like to play in it just because the money is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, that'll do. Nice, thanks.
I know, exactly.
Yeah. Brilliant. We're going to get through as many of these. We're running out of time. We've got a few minutes left before we go to David's picks. But another question for Mr. Seaman. Let's have a look. Gabby Champs, in your opinion, what was the most important save you ever made in your career? Important might not necessarily be the best. So which is the most important save you ever made in your career?
I would say definitely the one for England where I saved Gary McAllister's penalty kick.
With your elbow? Did that? Yeah.
Yeah. That's the one, with my left elbow. Because at the time we were winning 1-0 and we were struggling a little bit. And I remember Tony Adams bringing I think it was Gordon Drury down. And he tried to say he dived, but the way that Tony took his legs away, there was no way he could dive. But anyway, and then Gary McAllister came up and he struck the free kick and he hit it really well.
Oh, we just seem to have lost Anne with David. Oh, there we are. We're back. Sorry, you just broke up then, sir. We lost you for a second.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, and then Gary McAllister hit this ball, and it did move. To be fair to him, and Yuri Geller wasn't involved at all, and it came that fast. I knew I couldn't put my hand out towards it, so I just stuck my elbow up, and luckily it caught it right on the end, went over, and I remember Tony Adams running in and like grabbing me and kissing me on the cheek, and I was like, "Tone, you haven't shaved, mate." That's so weird things, weird memories of different penalties and stuff like that. He's Tony hadn't shaved.
Brilliant. Another question.
Yeah, that's probably the most important because literally 90 seconds after I make that save, Gaza goes up the other end and scores his amazing goal.
That's about to say. What was that like from your perspective when you saw Gaza do what he did? I think he went past. I forgot the defense. I think it was Colin Hendry. I don't think Colin Hendry to this day even knows exactly where's that gone. What was that like from your perspective? Quickly.
Yeah, it was weird because I was like, in a way, I was disappointed because I knew he'd nicked all my glory.
Your penalty save in the shootout against Spain, by the way, was also equally important, wasn't it? Because we rarely won penalty shootouts.
Yeah, getting us through to the semi-final was that was big. That was especially against Spain because Spain were a good team then, and they were like they had more possession in that game and really should have won. But we were lucky. They had a goal disallowed for offside that wasn't when you look back at it. So we were lucky in that game. But to help to get us to that quarterfinal was the save against Scotland and then Gazza's goal. So I'd say that one.
What a time for English football that was. Euro 96, unbelievable. Could talk for an hour just about Euro 96. Right, got a couple of more questions in. Mr. T-Dog, as I say, which is the best goal you've conceded in your career?
Whoa, best goal I've conceded. Yeah. I nearly said Gazza's free kick, but I should have saved that.
This is in the semi-final. Are we talking the 1991 semi-final? Oh, Gazza is going to hit it. Yeah. Oh, he is. Is the commentary where he smashed it in from about 30 yards. It is an extra set, though, isn't it? I did speak to Gazza about that when he was a guest on Behind the Bet.
Yeah, I bet. And every time he phones me up, he always reminds me about it as well. And I say, yeah, but I got me studs caught, mate. And I always say that, but. That was a special goal.
Yeah, that one. Talking of special, we actually have a question from a very special guest. Just watch this, David.
Hi, it's Kano here. It's really nice to hear from you. Just a few weeks ago, I was just remembering some of the best games we had for Arsenal. And there are lots of them. A lot of great memories. What are your best memories of us playing together in Arsenal? I wish you all the best. Take care. Bye.
The legend that is Carno. Clearly not filmed anywhere in England at the moment, where it's -5 with a palm tree in the back. So that's definitely not North London. But what is your favourite memory of playing with Carno, who was a guest on Behind the Bet as well, and an absolute stellar guy?
Yeah, he's a great guy. And I bet he's still using his 21-year-old passport. Because every time he was like, Canu, how old are you? He was like, 21. He was always 21. I think my favourite memory of Canu is when we played away at Chelsea in the league, and we were 2-0 down, and he scored a hat trick in I don't know how many minutes, but we won the game 3-2. And he was unbelievable. He got this like Cruyff turn that was better than Cruyff, if you know what I mean. It was that good. People, they knew that he was going to do it, but they didn't know when, because he didn't give it away at all. And he could do this little turn, and people would be going totally the other way. And I think it was Ed De Hoy. He did Ed De Hoy on it right on the goal line, and then just bent it in from a really acute angle, and it was just an amazing time. And that's my favourite memory of Canu at Arsenal, definitely.
Yeah, I spoke to him about that. Yeah, you were 2-0 down with 15 minutes left to play at Stamford Bridge, and I think he and Robin van Persie are the only Arsenal players to score a hat trick against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Wow. Knowing what he was going to do and stopping what he was going to do are two completely different things. Wonderful footballer, wonderful guy.
Great guy, though, as well.
Unbelievable. Right, so apologies if I didn't ask your question to David. We had so many that came through. So well done to everybody who did have a question asked to David. You've all won a 10 USDT free bet, but here's a chance to win more free bets on David's picks. So this is where, before this conversation, before Behind the Bet, we asked you 3 questions, David, and you had to pick your answer to each one. And then we asked customers at sportsbet.io and the Clubhouse to identify and see whether they could correctly identify your answers. This is also a test of memory to you to see. We've had it before where people have changed their answers. Paul Gascoigne did that. Is it answer 1, 2, 3, or 4? And he went for 2. And it's like, no, Paul, it's 3. It's 3. You went for 3 on this one. So here we go. Remember what he said. Exactly. So question number 1 on David's pick. It is David's biggest inspiration has been in football Eddie Gray, Lev Yashin, the famous Russian goalkeeper, Bob Wilson from Chesterfield, and Gordon Banks, who's also from around the north, from our neck of the woods, South Yorkshire, North Derbyshire kind of area. And your answer is
definitely Bob Wilson.
Bob Wilson.
Yeah. Definitely. He was massive. He was my coach for 15 years, so 13 years at Arsenal, 2 years when I was at QPR before Arsenal. Really special guy. He's been my best man twice. That's how much I love him. Bob is a proper Arsenal legend.
Yeah. Good on screen as well as off screen. I always remember growing up, Bob Wilson presenting the TV. He was amazing at that as well, wasn't it, Bob? He was just
he was, and it was great because at the time that he was coaching me at Arsenal, he was doing that, and it was great that I got this massive personality as my coach. Bob was special. He could make you. He could get you would get confidence out of training, not just out of games.
Yeah.
But out of Bob's training, you'd walk off feeling $1 million.
So well done if you identified Bob Wilson. That is question number 1. If you get 2 out of 3 right or 3 out of 3 right, you'll win a 10 USDT free bet. Question number 2 of David's pick. David's biggest change in life was when he joined Arsenal in the 1990-91 season, leaving Leeds, his England debut against Saudi Arabia, or the first title win for Arsenal. And your answer is?
Is leaving Leeds.
Leeds.
He's got to have been, because as a 19-year-old and you get told you're not good enough, that's when you start questioning yourself and questioning your life or the life path that you're going to take. I was luckily spotted by Peterborough. And that came about because Martin Wilkinson, who became manager of Peterborough, used to be the coach at Arsenal under Alan Clark. He had been released, and fortunately for me, he took me down to Peterborough, and that's where it all started again. So, that's the biggest change in life, was leaving Leeds.
In hindsight, I think we should have met halfway, and we could have done this from the David Seaman suite at Peterborough United. I think that's a great fitting.
Which I'm very proud of.
You should be. It's brilliant. So well done if you said leaving Leeds. If you got 2, both of them correct so far, you've already won a 10 USDT free bet. But here is question number 3 of David's pick. The best colleague to spend time with off the field: Ian Wright, Lee Dixon, Ray Parlour, or Tony Adams. And your answer is?
It's got to be Lee Dixon. We shared a room for Arsenal. We shared a room for England as well. So we were great. Well, we are great friends. We still are great friends. And Dicko is a really good golfer. So we do have a lot of competition on the golf course. Wrighty's a really decent golfer as well, but Wrighty's right. He never shuts up, even on the golf course, and he can throw a club or two as well.
Yeah,
yeah. And Tony and Ray, still great friends, but the main guy is Dicko.
So Lee Dixon has been a previous guest on Behind the Bet, and before the show went live, he popped up and we did the whole, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Lee? He said, yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? I went, pardon? And he went, no, you have to be quick in that. Me and David do all the time with our wives. Is that true? When they go, can you hear me?
Yeah.
You go, what? Sorry? Is that true?
It is definitely true. Trying to catch each other out all the time, even when if we see each other on live TV, we try and phone each other up to make sure that we've got your phone turned on.
I love it. Thank you. So it is Lee Dixon. Well done if you got 3 out of 3 right. You've won a 10 USDT free bet. Well done if you got 2 out of 3 right. You've already also won a 10 USDT free bet, which will be in your account within 48 hours. I can tell you now, we've had over 100 people win on David's pick. So well done to everybody. Now it's time for Behind the Cause. And this is going to the Cats Protection League. This is a €500 donation for the charity of choice from David Seaman, and he has gone for the Cats Protection League. If you bring David back in, you'll see the cat cushion over his shoulder. So basically, the Cats Protection League, and this is funny because Lee Dixon, he is big into helping stray dogs. So Lee Dixon is a dog person, and you are a cat person. But Cats Protection League, a UK charity dedicated to rescuing and rehoming stray, unwanted or homeless cats and educating people about cats and cat welfare. You foster, with Frankie, your wife, you foster pregnant cats, is that correct? And you have you still got Marmite and Toast?
No, they've gone out, but we've got 3 others at the moment. Yeah, so Marmite and Toast have gone out to their forever homes, and through Cats Protection, that's what we do, and that's what Frankie does most of it. She will get some really small kittens. Sometimes they're actually born in our house, and then I call it humanizes them, and she calls it socializes them, and then gets them ready. They have to get to a certain weight, and then they go out. And the hardest thing is letting them go.
Yes.
But I keep telling Frankie, I says, yeah, but they're going to forever homes. When's the next lot coming in? And it's something that's really close. We've got 2 of our own cats that we actually got from Cats Protection.
Right.
But they can't mix with the other cats because they haven't had their vaccinations, the kittens and things, So the cats that Frankie takes care of have got their own special accommodation within the house, shall we say? And it's something that's really close to our hearts, and it gives us a lot of pleasure as well. Plus the fact that we've got our own 2 from there as well.
So €500 donation is safe. That's going to the Cats Protection League. What we're going to do, we're going to do a bit of fun. I'm going to ask you 10 questions. We're going to have a quick quiz. It's all about you, by the way. Nothing to trip you up. Some of these might make you think a little bit. But for every question, we'll add €50 to the €500 donation. So it's a chance to double the money, effectively. So are you ready for question number 1?
Ready.
What is your middle name?
Andrew.
See, it's not difficult, is it? Eh?
I hope they're as easy as that.
See, simple as that. Question number 2. So you've already got an extra €50. You made your Arsenal debut against which team?
Arsenal debut, Wimbledon, away, 1-3-0.
That was my question number 3. What was the score? So you've answered. You've answered 2 and 3. All right then, show off. Who scored the goals that day? Who scored the goals?
Oh no! No idea. All I was bothered about is keeping a clean sheet.
It was 0-0 at half time. It was Merson, Smith, and Groves scored. That's what it was.
Wow. Okay.
So you're straight on to question number 4. No messing around with you. Right, here we go. In the top 10 list of goalkeepers who have kept the most number of clean sheets in the Premier League, there are 3 Davids. You are one of them at number 4. Who are the other 2?
Oh, David James.
Yes, he's at number 2 with 169 clean sheets. Now you might technically hate me for the other one.
David.
Yeah, although it's not pronounced David, it's spelled David.
Oh, De Gea.
David
De Gea.
There you are.
Yes.
See? He's at number 7 for 135 clean sheets. You, by the way, you're number 4 in the list. You kept around 150 clean sheets. That's had of a record.
Yeah, but apparently, if I'm right, and I don't know who's done all this research, that I played in the top division for 7 years before the Premier League and had about 70 or 80 clean sheets then.
Right.
But they don't get added.
Yeah.
The Football League never existed before the Premier League.
It didn't. No, it didn't. Exactly right. Neither did grass on some of those pitches as well, to be fair. Some of them, watching them in the 80s. You kept 141 clean sheets, 138 for Arsenal and 3 for Manchester City. You are beaten by Petr Cech, who's 1, David James, who's 2, and Mark Schwarzer, who's number 3 in the list. You have got an extra €200. Question number 5. Who did you play against in your 1,000th game as a professional footballer?
I know this. Did a decent save against them as well. Sorry to keep bringing it up, Gav. Sheffield United.
It was the FA Cup. So not only did you play a 1,000th professional game, it was a pulling out the best save of your career in that 1,000th game as well.
Did you know what happened as well with the shirt, right? So Paddy Kenny was in the goal and he asked me for my shirt, right? And I just took it off, signed it. And luckily, I didn't sign it to Paddy. I just wrote "Safe Hands, David Seaman." And then I was on the way home and then I got a phone call. They were like, "Have you got your shirt?" And I was like, "Why? No, why? What's up?" They went, "It's your 1,000th appearance, and you made that save." I went, "I've given it away to Paddy Kenny." And then I had to phone Paddy up. I was, "Paddy, excuse me, but I says, any chance I can have the shirt back? And I'll send you another one. It's just that one's a bit special now."
Did he? Gave it back, of course. Being a fine lad that he is, Paddy Kenny.
Yeah, and I sent him 2 shirts and a pair of gloves. You know, so he was happy.
He's a Yorkshire lad as well, so he'll be fine with that. You've got every question right. €250 on top so far. Here's question number 6. You love cats. 3 teams in the Championship have cat-related nicknames. Can you name 2 of them? Oh, there's a question. There's a question.
In the Championship?
Yeah. Yeah. To be fair,
Black cat. But that's not that's Sunderland, isn't it? The Black Cats, they're not in the Championship.
Yeah, they are. They're in the Championship.
Oh, are
They're
they?
in the Championship.
Oh,
Yeah, they got promoted. Well, there's one.
Right. Oh. Hull City, the Tigers. Does that count?
That's cat related. That's 2 out of 3. That's right.
That'll do.
That'll do. That's it. You're on fire. You got every single one right. We're now going to go a little bit over time. I don't care. Do you know the third one, just for showing off sake?
No, I can't. Do you know where I remembered the whole thing? As a kid, we used to get the little like Panini stickers and used to collect the club badges.
Yes.
Hull City's was brilliant, and it was always like the one that you wanted to get because there's a lion or a tiger or something on the front of it, and I always remembered that.
Lion. Yeah. You mentioned lion. Millwall's badge is a lion because they're called the Lions. So there you are. €300 on top at the moment. Forgive me for this one, David. Please forgive me. Your full name is David Andrew Seaman. How many A's are there in your full name?
Oh. 4.
Yes.
I had to spell that then.
Yeah. The reason I asked that, right, I asked David O'Leary that question. Your full name is David Anthony O'Leary. How many A's in your name? And he went, 2. I went, no, there's 3, David. So I thought I'd trip you up with that, but you got it right, all 4. Right, here we go. Question number 8. In your debut season for Arsenal, the 1991 season, the current 4th-time highest goal scorer in the Premier League also made his debut for Arsenal that season as a sub. He made 1 appearance before leaving the club. Who is that player?
Striker.
Yeah. Currently the 4th all-time highest goal scorer in the Premier League. Made 1 appearance for Arsenal, came on as a sub in the season that you made your debut for Arsenal. There's a question.
1 appearance for Arsenal?
Yeah, he came on as a sub in a 4-1 win against Sheffield United. Always seems to be against Sheffield United, this, David.
Oh, I'm struggling with this.
That's right.
1 appearance?
Yes. He left to go to Bristol City. Later played for Newcastle United and Manchester United.
Oh, got it. Andy Cole.
Yeah. With a little bit of help, and I give it to you. Andy Cole.
Wow. I like that fact.
There you go. You
got some good facts on here.
Question number 9. 7 teams starting with the letter S for Seaman and Safe Hands have played in the Premier League. Name 5 of them.
So, Sheffield United.
Yep. Good one.
Stoke.
Yep.
Sunderland.
Yep. That's 3 so far.
How many have I got to get? 5. Beginning
5.
With
2
S.
more.
Chef Wednesday.
Yep. And there's a current Premier League side already in there. 2003 FA Cup final.
Southampton.
Yeah. Can you name the other 2 just for the sake of it?
Not off the top of my head now. I'm struggling.
Swansea City.
Oh, I wouldn't have got that.
And Swindon Town.
Oh, not that one either. But I played against them.
Okay.
Yeah, played against all them.
Nobody's got a full 10 out of 10, by the way, on this, but you may have. Your debut for England was against Saudi Arabia and finished 1-1. No help on this one. Who scored the goal for England that day?
It's either, I'm going to say, Alan Smith or Tony Adams. I'll go Alan Smith.
It's Tony Adams.
Ah! Damn it! Do you know what I remember of that trip? So that was my England debut, right? We flew out on Concorde, and for people that don't know, Concorde was a really fast aeroplane back in the day. We flew out on Concorde, played my game, and because it was my debut, I got to drive around in a Ford XR3i for a year because they were sponsoring England. And I was like, wow, welcome to being an international footballer.
Life is made. Do you want to know the England team on your debut?
Yes, please.
In goal, David Seaman. Mel Sterling, Stuart Pearce, Michael
Mel,
Thomas, Tony Adams, Gary Pallister, Brian Robson, Peter Beardsley, Gary Lineker, Chris Waddle. Substitutes that day, Alan Smith, Paul Gascoigne and Brian Marwood.
Oh, man. Really?
So 450.
Really
So I make that €950 going to the Cats Protection League. Now, very quickly, we have the World Cup final coming up this weekend. So the €950 is absolutely safe. That's going to the Cats Protection League regardless. But who do you think is going to win the World Cup? And whoever you think it is, we will put the €950 on that team. And if they win, whatever profit we get, we'll also give to the Cats Protection League. So it's a chance that you make even more money. But you have to tell me who thinks going to win, France or Argentina?
I'm going to go for France.
France.
I just feel that they're a stronger team. I know the Messi factor is massive for Argentina, but I just think France will have too much. They're a really good team all round.
So they're both just under 2. So that means it's almost a chance to just literally double the money. It's a pick 'em. The price is exactly the same pretty much. So there it is. Yeah. David, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Listen, I've done very well because I've not even mentioned Naeem's goal. Can I just ask you one question regarding that? When Naeem scores, you lay in the back of your goal like someone who's just casually laying in front of a fire on a Sunday afternoon just watching some television. What is the thought process when you're just laid there, or is there a thought process?
The thought process is that we've lost the final because it was the last seconds of extra time, and I'm thinking like, that's it, we've done, and it's a mistake, But to be fair to Naeem, he meant that one.
Do you think he did?
No, he did. He definitely did, because he tried it a little. He tried one in the first half from not as far out, and so I was aware of it. But because of the position that I was in, I was struggling to get back. But it was just the thought of, that's it, we're out.
I played football in amateur leagues around Sheffield, and I once in a mud bath. It was a game where it was just rain, and some big midfielder just went, I'm going to hit this as hard as I can from midfield, and scored from 40 yards against me. I know the minute that ball was kicked, you go, that's got me, that has. Is that what you felt with Naeem, where you just thought, I'm in trouble here straight away?
And Ronaldinho, I knew I was in trouble.
Straight away.
Like you're trying to get it, and you know that you're not going to get it. And all I remember thinking is, hit the bar or go over. Hit the bar or go over. And both of them didn't. They both went in.
So we are part of the we've conceded goals from 40 yards gang. So we've both been there. Yours was slightly more high profile than mine, I admit, but we've still been there. What I will say, by the way, to counterbalance the Naeem goal, was the semi-final against Sampdoria, where you poured out some terrific saves in the penalty shootouts. You wouldn't have made the final had it not been for your terrific goalkeeping in the penalty shootout. I always like to counterbalance that. Watch the Naeem goal, but then watch the penalty shootout.
Yeah, I had a hat trick of penalty saves in the semi-final. Yeah, in the semi-final. So
awesome, mate. What a pleasure, an absolute pleasure.
Mate.
Yeah. So thank you for your time and coming to speak to us and Behind the Bet with sportsbet.io. I wish you and Frankie a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year, and keep up the great work you do for the Cats Protection League as well. Thank you, David.
Cheers, mate. Same to you.
Thank you.
And
thank you, buddy. And for the next instalment of Behind the Bet, we've got a special guest lined up coming into 2023 for the latest information. Stay tuned to Clubhouse TV. We'll give you the information there. We're live for the World Cup final this weekend as well, and the third place playoff. And also stay tuned to the Behind the Bet section of the Clubhouse. But until next time, it's goodbye from me.